It's me, Joni. So I thought I would read to you a little bit from this new essay that I've been working on for my new book, and this is about Twister. Do you know this movie? Do you love it? Twister. Helen Hunt is in it, Bill Paxton is in it. And really, this essay is on my mind because of all the tornadoes we've been having lately, but also because I love research so very much. And I'm going to read you part of this essay, and you'll hear some research beginning to filter in. And at the end, I'll give you a little exercise that has to do with research and how much it too can be a part of your love language and your essay life. Okay, so this essay came out in the Southern Review to my joy because I'd always wanted to be there. And I'll just read you some parts of it. And don't worry if it doesn't make a lot of linear sense. We're just going to jump around. So too as a storm will do. And we'll just kind of roll with it. And shelter cannot help us. Comes on a scarf of cloud, dark comber, black hump. Comes with a freshening wind. Comes with bright threads of light, then a mutter and roll. Comes with hail that turns the sky funny. Bill, going green, dusty, greenage. Then stones pelt down, strip the oaks, hammer the Quonset hut's corrugated roof. Say today begins in a field where dark trees mark the section line, a place once a prairie, then a farm, now a movie set. Crew members hide cords in yellow grass, set up light stands, spliced with electrical tape. Someone unfolds a discount store lawn chair and angles it into place. Here, in this particular moment, just after noon, as midges swarm and weeds rustle, Philip Seymour Hoffman, as Dusty, arranges himself in the chair, pulls a pair of dark goggles over his head, and adjusts his OU ball cap. In front of the camera, an assistant snaps the clapboard. It reads, Twister. In Red Bay, Alabama, April 1936. The tornado came last night with an awful roaring like a heavy freight train. In Texas City, Texas, August 1963. I looked out and saw the tornado roaring like a freight train. In Kokomo, Indiana, April 1965, all of a sudden this big black thing came at me and I dived under the dashboard. Then it sounded like a freight train, going sideways. In Shreveport, Louisiana, February 1950. Like a freight train coming in my front door. Dr. Joe Harding, Helen Hunt, knows that the best truck, hers, is 15 years old and paid for. Has a glove box stuffed with maps, cash, and a box cutter. Lie love it on the tape deck, and under the shotgun seat, a flat-a-jack, just in case. But when she jumps out of that yellow truck just in time for a tornado to yank it a half mile into the sky, hold it there, then hurl it cab down to the ground, she doesn't rest on sentiment. Says, that wasn't so bad. Kicks in a window and grabs her go bag, wipes the dreck from her face with a clean towel. She's the only reason to watch Twister again and again, and lately I have been. I like her best when she's alone in the frame, unsmiling, waiting for a cup of coffee or fiddling with a satellite dish. She's the one the men call professor, the one the men call boss. All my guys, get a grip on yourself, she says. She's got her PhD. She's got her own lab. We've got so much to do, she says. Dry in the mouth and silent, a full breath on empty lungs. How she craves these enemies who boil up from the plain, spool out from bricks of cloud, push down church walls on Palm Sunday and kill 256, then tool away down the Vale and wink out to nothing. If she could sound the alarm. Here comes murderer without body or malice, possessed of much power, but neither skill nor awareness. If she could buy time, not much, 10 minutes, she could save them then. And in her work she need not be monogamous, can take her several pleasures as they come, can chase after them, gape, let them press her flat against wet ground. Pity Bill Harding, Bill Paxton, Joe's estranged husband, whose truck tells us everything we need to know. A shiny red Ram 2500 or 3500, depending on the shot, club cab, fresh off the lot and just as blank. The Ram has a good spare, but he has to get a mechanic to swap it out. And when Joe asks him about insurance, he says, liability only. What kind of fool buys a brand new truck and doesn't carry full coverage? In one scene, Bill stands with his back to the camera, gathers a handful of roadside dust, and lets it fall, evidence of his supposed storm-chasing instincts. To which tornado guru Thomas Grzulius side-eyes, if you expect to look at the sky, drop a stream of dirt into the wind, and let intuition guide your path, you might as well stay home. Only when it touches the ground does a funnel cloud become a tornado. This is a disaster that hinges on relationship. Let us parley then, you and I. You who approach like plague at the close of the day. You who change trees, trucks, water towers, farmhouses, sofas, curtains, humans to splinters and trash. You who erase towns so that people will forsake those places for a century or more. You who carry your spiraling offspring within and without your dark body. Mean spindrift. No wind-measuring instrument has ever survived the impact of a full tornado, says my field guide to weather. Other clouds may be hard to classify, but even a child knows your name. You who skid over graves and raise the dead. You who skip and hop. You who bawl. You who emit, sometimes, ball lightning from your spout. Prank and fizzle. One witness reported a ball coming slowly toward me at less than the speed a person could walk, and when it hit the door, it made the door sound like it was singing. Capricious and short-lived, you're the most human of natural disasters, made of water vapor and assorted other humors. Well, me too. A cloud appears dark because through it no sunlight can pass. There's a secret at its core, a held breath, polluted. People say if Mary Clayton sang the phone book, folks would stop and listen. Over the past 5 decades, she's recorded with scores of musicians, but the duet she's most famous for started one night in 1969. She was in bed near midnight when the phone rang. It was Mick Jagger. The song starts with naughty guitar, a nervous-sounding scraper, and an eerie high float like oil on floodwater. That's Mick, singing about a storm that threatens his life, singing about his need for shelter. When Mary comes in on the chorus, her voice carries something of that caught between waking and sleeping flux, when threats loom beside the bed and dream feels like portent. War, children, she sings. It's just a shot away. It's just a shot away. And her voice carries new urgency when she sings the bridge, naming the pain that appears on the horizon. Rape, murder. She sings it 3 times, and on the last go, her voice cracks. I start to think the whole song exists just to frame that crack, to ballast it with backing tracks, lest it split not only the recording booth, but the roof and the sky above the roof. I shiver to hear it. Later she said, I was just grateful that the crack was in tune. The Fujita Pearson scale of tornado intensity, an imperfect measure but the best we have, judges a storm by its single most destructive act. Some examples. F0, gale tornado, I read, damages signboards. F3, severe tornado, will uproot most trees in forest land and overturn trains. F5, incredible tornado, with wind speeds of 261 to 318 miles an hour, can cause strong frame houses to disintegrate, trees to debark, an incredible phenomenon to occur. Historian of wind Lyle Watson tells of tornado aftermath as eccentric as an egg found with a bean blown into the yolk through a neat hole bored in the otherwise uncracked shell, of undamaged candles embedded deep in the plaster walls of rooms, and even of a flower forced into the fabric of a plank of wood. After an 1882 storm in Dubuque, Iowa, small living frogs were found encased in hailstones. Clams, periwinkles, and jellyfish have dropped from the sky, and black worms, and lizards whose skins melted over time to reveal bristle-stiff ribs. When little fish fall, people have eaten them as a rare delicacy. In 1897, Watson writes, a wind blew over Italy bearing blood-colored clouds and seeds of the Judas tree, carried there by a wind from south of the Sahara. When rain from those clouds finally fell, many of the seeds, Watson reports, had already sprouted. Twister's storm chasers live in a hermetic world where the weather report is the only news, their convoy is the only traffic, and the sole outsider, Bill's fiancée, Melissa, self-exiles before posing any real threat to the group. Waitresses draw near, pour coffee, and float away. Teenagers neck discreetly at the drive-in, then vanish when the storm hits. An exploding gasoline tanker has no visible driver. For a disaster movie, Twister is nearly bloodless, but for a cut on Preacher's forehead and a gash near Aunt Meg's temple that Jo dabs with a handkerchief wetted with her own spit. Banter, props, all of it debris. I love the paper maps and flapping bundles, the takeout cups that tumble from the roof of the truck, the CB radio that lets everyone eavesdrop. Dusty sucks something through a clear straw mounted to the van ceiling, and when Bill and Jo argue, the whole team spectates. Haynes, I think they're getting better at this. The truck cab is the only intimate space they share. She takes his breath and holds it, makes it hers. Here, simple objects vibrate with meaning. White tank top, filched ballpoint, corn leaves, diesel exhaust, a bean sleeping within an uncracked egg. When the wind chewed up the plowed fields and pulled them into the sky, settlers used to call it Red Dog. For weeks after the November 10th, 1915 tornado that hit Kansas, one source says, a rain of debris, receipts, checks, photographs, ledger sheets, money, clothing, shingles, and fragments of books fell on almost every farm. As for me, when summer comes, I walk the aisles of the flea market here in South Carolina and find old postcards scattered across warped tables. In one, a drawing of a dog trying to grab a sausage reads, "There's something in the air here." The Furies are three: Megaera, jealous; Tisiphone, avenger of murder; and Alecto, unceasing in anger. They stride the earth together, inexorable but just, single of mind, and for clothes they wear robes of smoke, and for hair they have adders, and as for home, they have no home. The Furies do not link arms. They are not about girl power. They will have their say, although it grieves them. Their screams pierce their own ears, and the tears that wet their faces are blood. Some say they were created because of a terrible sin that had to be repaid, but I say they've lived as long as there have been afternoons when a hot spot rises over olive groves or limestone temple columns or the blacktop outside Big Sandy, wavering air drifting up from the Chevy dealership's bright aluminum roofline and joining with other pockets to make a larger cloud that can float still higher to where water waits to fall back to the hot asphalt. Who can trace their lineage? They walk the earth and are often misidentified, mistaken for other spirits, as when the wind passes over cornfields and people say, "The wolf is in the corn," or "The mad dog is there." Just a little more. Taste the green cornfield, metallic whiff of hail. Corn leaves sharp enough to cut your hands. The mad dog is in the corn. The wolf is there. This is the final tornado, and the worst, the finger of God. Wet ground torn by truck tires, erotic smell of diesel exhaust. Take away the diamond solitaire, the fiancé, the filched pen. Take away the stuff of daily life. Debris. We have debris. Wendy's paperback copy of The Catcher in the Rye, pages yellowed with nicotine, barn burner in a junkyard, Tori Amos cassette in a puddle of rainwater. Take away a summer night, a floodlit soccer field, its grass a sizzling green. Take away gravel beside railroad tracks. Take away my old postcards. Strangers' words and small change stamps, fir trees turned to pulp and pressed into cardstock and printed with a photograph of a motel. Grzulius points out that there's such a thing as too much warning time. People drive to relatives' houses to get them out of harm's way and get caught themselves. As a transformer explodes in a mushroom-shaped fire cloud, as Bill drives a ram whose starred windshield heals itself, as a telephone pole crashes into the truck bed and later vanishes. As Joe's need to get that data, columns of numbers scrolling down the computer monitor, lies warm against her heart like the coin pendant she presses to her skin. As she forgets the stapled divorce papers at the snack bar to be caught up in the wind that erases Jack Torrance's grinning face from the drive-in movie screen. As fence palings sink into the side of a barn, as the barn depixelates, as a flying reaper guillotines past. As the storm's hand grabbles, as it roars in my ears, makes me show myself so it can seize me. It has a voice made up of many other sounds. A typewriter, radio static, Tarzan's yell, the squeak of a wheel on a room service cart. Push the button on the vending machine and a pack of cigarettes falls into the gutter. We recycle words like water, letters touched by countless dirty hands. The words in the Twister script tend towards simplicity. It's coming. Run. You guys need to get some new stories. If you take those words and rearrange them, you come up with lines like, "You'll forget him, honey. You'll forget better." The funnel is a specific moment in time carrying debris, dirt, and water vapor, which has itself cycled through lifetimes beyond count. It's never goodbye. I'm saying how I worry. Knots of cloud on the radar screen, pulls and snags of white. How to read them, how to understand. So like the press of an arm, a word spoken low. Oh, I know good lies. Let's have another. I think I'm getting there. Beneath each old stamp hides the touch of lips that sent those words around the world. I don't think I need control. Oh, honey, trust it. All these ordinary things mean more than they say. Broom straw, bristling from an iron pipe, receipts, raining down on a plowed field, a vinyl record stuck in a telephone pole like a thrown knife. In an open field in Nebraska, a declivity hides a door leading into the ground. Pliny tells us that Fuller's earth can sweeten bitter water. Tang of well water, taste of rust, a rain of Judas trees. There's something in the air. Jump rope, teacher's handbell, pencil in a furrow. And Joe knows the savor of the thing unsaid, him close but not touching. Not the shared room in the motor court, not the buying of a drink, lemonade or something stronger. Knows herself to be desired, but wears it easy as a pair of stovepipe pants. And when the funnel comes, how little all the prior details matter. Parents gone, no child to need her, she goes where the others won't and stands spellbound as the storm says, "I will bear you up." She lets it bray in her ear, translates what it says into something other people can use. She's the mouthpiece of a terrible God, not long for this world, its exhalation a screed of power and rage. After it dies, another will rise up in its place, and knowing this allows her sleep to be sweet. Alone in a rented room, the sound from someone else's late movie coming in through the wall. All right, so, you ready for your exercise? Okay, so think of something that you love. It could be a movie, and it doesn't have to be a good movie, right? It could be a movie, any movie that you love. I love Twister, so I wrote about Twister. It could be a movie, it could be a song, it could be a painting, it could be anything that you love and want to spend more time with. Do spend more time with it. Notice how it is made, notice its details, write about that, and then see what you can research around it. Who wrote it? Who made it? Who worked on it? When was it made? How is it a creation of its time and moment? And what you learn about that other piece of art will reveal something to you about yourself, and this research will frame out your essay, and it'll be exciting to see where that goes. So everyone, have a great day today. Bye-bye.